Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Flawed Sister Squad podcast. I hope everybody has had a wonderful week, even though today is only Tuesday. So I hope your Monday was fabulous. I hope your weekend was fabulous. I hope your Sunday was fabulous. Thank you all for joining today. As you can see, we have a full house today. We are going to be talking about single. Our topic is single and saved. It's Season 2, Episode 17, Single and Saved and Proper Vetting for Marriage. So as you can see, we have 3 singles and we have 2 couples. So today we're just going to be pouring into each other and just feeding into one another our experiences, where we are right now in life. And hopefully we can get some education from these couples for us single ladies looking to get married. So before we start, we're going to do some introductions, and we're going to start up top with our first couple. And it's it's fun when I do this, even though their names are on the screen, I still have them say their names, even though I know everybody can read, and just give a quick little introduction. So I'm going to have Mr. Joseph Gray and Mrs. Kayla Gray. Go ahead and do that for us.
Hello, my name is Joseph Gray.
Hi, I'm Kayla Gray.
And we've been married for a whole year and a half.
Woo! Yes. And next up, our next couple.
Well, we are Shane and Lori Rogers.
It's already started.
Yes. And we've been married for
This is year 17.
This is year 17. In November.
17 years. Yes.
Yeah.
So we have 2 different spectrums. So this is awesome how the Lord just set stuff up for us. All right, Miss Jackson.
I'm Tiana Jackson, and I'm single.
All right. And Miss Lorendia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lorendia. Well, I don't want to give too much away because I know you got some good questions. I was going to get into this, but yes, I'm here in Dallas with my good sister, and I'm a chef, and I love fashion. Just throw that out there. Love the Lord.
Okay. Are you single?
Oh, you want to know now? Yes, I am single. I'm not married.
Okay. All right. And I am Tiquana. I am your host, and I am single and not dating. Okay, so the topic is living saved and dating.
Wait a minute.
Marriage.
Wait a minute. That's a different question. You said I'm single and not dating. Miss Jackson just said she was single, and Lorendia just said I'm single. At dating, not dating, that's a whole nother thing. We need no more status than that,
mine. So we can get into some specifics. Lorendia, are you dating?
I'm not dating.
Okay, so she's single and not dating. Tiana.
I am married and not dating.
You better not.
With your wife, date her all the time.
Miss Jackson, single and dating or not dating?
I'm dating.
Okay. All right. Let's get into it then. So we already answered the first question. So since you said that you are, so the couples, just sit tight for a second because the first couple of questions are tailored to the singles. So just, and make sure you're listening to what we're saying because I want you guys to chime in and do all that good stuff. Okay. So Tiana, you said that you are single and you are dating. So how is that looking for you? And that's the first question.
Okay, so I'm not like I'm dating. I'm open for relationship. I'm really only right now seeing one person that I spend most of my time with, that I engage my time spiritually, emotionally, and mentally with.
Okay.
I'm not ready for no, like we're on a, knowing each other as well as ourselves right now.
Okay. So are you okay? This is off the cuff because I want to be specific. So there is a difference between dating and courting. So are you dating And listen, first, before I say this is a no judgment zone. We are just all adults talking. Once we get into like some specifics, this is when I want everybody to like pour into each other. Because what I don't want to happen is for us to come off as judgmental. And this is for the audience and for the people on the panel. No one is judging anyone. We are simply trying to get other perspectives and just trying to tap in to what's currently going on in the state of just relationships overall. So I want to put that disclaimer out there. However, with saying that there is no judgment, we are all believers and there are requirements. So biblically and just across the board. So we're going to get into all that, but I don't want anybody to feel bad, get offended, any of that. If there's a question you don't feel comfortable answering, let me know and we can move on. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. So are you dating or courting?
I'm courting.
Okay.
Courting.
Yay. Okay. Good.
We're courting.
Okay.
There's no. Let's put it like that. There's no, oh, that's my man or that's my woman. We're friends and we're having fun with each other, like knowing each other. He's been my friend for a while.
Okay.
For
that's a plus.
10 years. 10 years.
And the goal is marriage, right?
Possibly. That's my goal. Okay. Is marriage.
Okay.
But I want to make sure that if he's not, right now it's just we're trying to I'm figuring it out. I'm figuring out if this is where I want to be.
Okay. And that makes sense.
Now he's my friend. Right now he's my friend.
Okay.
And that's what I really want in a relationship. Before I'm like, oh, that's my boyfriend, that's my man. I want him to be my friend first. We are friends first.
Gotcha. Lorendia.
What's the question?
So you're not dating right now. So with that being said, what is your view on the whole dating process, courting process? What is your view on it?
I'm not dating anyone right now. I find it that it's pretty comical. Like there's like this not even just Instagram, like an internet joke about like if my spouse is praying that no one is talking to me, it's working. Like, the joke. It's like anytime like I overhear a guy like, oh, she probably already has someone. So everybody already assumes I have someone already. So nobody really tries. And anyone who does try, they just they like me as long as I don't like them. And the moment I'm like, okay, let me see. Okay, let's dig in deeper. Now let me try to be interested. The moment I'm interested, it's like the energy, all that was being put forth, the effort, it's gone. So yes, that's dating that's been me in my openness trying to date. I'm gonna be honest, like I'm someone who has to, I kind of make room for it. It's something that I am intentional of, I should say. I'm very intentional about dating. So I can't say I've been dating all my life because I'm like intentional when I want to be in that space to be with someone to share. So yeah, I think I've been lately because I feel that God has been transforming me into that space and that I'll be revealed to that one. But no, it hasn't happened yet. How do I feel about courting? I feel like it's amazing. I love to see intentionality. To me, that's what courting is. You're being intentional about who you're with and you're putting God in the forefront and you guys are allowing him to spearhead what you guys are doing and where you guys are going and, allow yourselves to grow and to go into that space of being one, basically.
Okay. Good answer. So there's an echo. I hear echo. I can hear myself. Can you guys hear echo when I talk? I guess
it's only echo when Lorendia is not on mute.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. Okay. So for me, I'm not dating. I haven't even put myself in. I don't even know how you would do that anyway. I haven't put myself in a position to be met. I literally don't go anywhere. I go to church. I work from home. I go to church, literally. I go to church, whether it be Sunday service, sometimes Wednesday night Bible study, and then choir rehearsal. And then a trip to the store if I need running errands. Like I don't go anywhere to even really be met. My mental space when it comes to that is if it happens, it happens. I'm not, and for the record, I'm 47. So I don't even feel like rushed. Like, oh my God, the clock is ticking. Like I need to, it's just not there yet. Right now I'm concentrating on what I'm doing and positioning myself in God. That's my number one priority. And then whatever happens, I mean, I'm open to it. So that's where I'm at. So my first question for the couples, when we were talking about courting and dating, I'm going to go to the newlyweds, Joseph and Kayla. I want you to tell me what did your, okay, so this question is not on here either. If you don't feel comfortable, you don't. Okay. So what did your courting process look like? And let's start here. How did it start? Like, was there a dating, then you moved to the courting phase? Were you guys friends and then automatically went to the court? You know what I mean? What was the stages?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. So there were actually 3 specific stages that we went through. We called the discovery zone, when we get to discover who each other was. That's when you don't really know each other. But since we were in college, we were already in the second stage, which was the friend zone. And then the third stage will be the intentional zone. And so since we already had established a friendship, our not dating, but our courting stage was very intentional. So as a friend, I told her as my friend, you know, I had intentions and her. And then so once I made that clear to her, I was like, okay, so we're in the friend zone now. But if we go to the intentional zone, my intentions is to marry you. So before we even crossed that wall, I've made it clear to her what my expectations was. What I don't call it dating, because dating to me had too many negative connotations to it that I didn't want to be associated with. But my courtship with her, I made it intentional. Once we crossed this wall, that I have a specific plan. I had a 5-year plan that I had laid out. I told her I don't do the whole hugging the boyfriend and girlfriend stuff. I just was very, very straightforward. I told her even before we even officialized our courtship that I wanted to meet with her father, just to make sure that both families was on the same page. And so our courtship was only 4 months, and we had even until we got engaged. So we got engaged. We had our courtship in March of last year, was it? A year before last. Then 4 months later, in July, I proposed to her. So the courtship was basically just about setting the foundation on making sure that we're on the same page on what an engagement and a marriage would look like. Because we already had, you know, on the friendship zone, I'd established trust, respect, honor, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's just a matter of making my intentions clear as we crossed the wall over into the intentional zone, which was synonymous with the courtship. This is what we're doing. This is what it's look like. Can you get with this program? You know, yes or no. And then we were already friends. We were able to move on to the engagement. So it was very streamlined.
And that's beautiful. So this is what you would call, and for those, so just to let everybody know, we're a panel of saved individuals, believers, however you want to call it. So these stages are kind of different from the modern standpoint. I don't want to say carnal, but I think that these stages should be implemented any phase of your life, whatever you're doing in life, as far as relationship building and moving to the next level. Because I think when you do things out of order, when you don't have a plan, when you don't have an intention, then that's when things can get convoluted and things can get all jacked up. You're doing stuff before your marriage that you should be doing, you know what I mean? So I think, and this is me speaking from experience as well, because I haven't been saved all my life. I've fallen off a couple of times, and it was because, to be exact, without giving too much information, because the whole about me you have to actually subscribe for me to tell all my business. So podcast, we're getting the surface level information. But we have had our different walks of life, and for this specific reason, I had fell off a couple of times because of the man being absent. Let's just keep it real. We want someone there, and it gets lonely. At this point, I know I've graduated because it's not even about loneliness at this point. I'm in a different phase, a different season. So let me not take up the whole show. Shane and Lori, we have you 17 years of marriage.
Well, I'll say this. I have to talk because I don't know what he's gonna. No,
You don't know what he's
no, he's good. He's good. He'll chime in. Actually, our story is kind of like. Is it? I want to say your name right. Is it to want to? I'm sorry,
Tiana.
Tiana.
Tiana. Okay.
Yeah.
We are kind of like you and your friend. We had been friends for 5 years before we even had romantic.
At least
5 years before we were even thinking of that, or looking at each other that way. And I always say life comes back around because we both ended up available, and we had been friends for a long time. We had played together in church musically. I played keys, he played bass, so we had been playing, for choirs and stuff. So
you play keys?
Yeah, girl, you ain't know
No.
that? I played organ.
Okay, go ahead.
And
I'm sorry.
yeah. So I thought you knew that. Yes.
wait to get the rest of that story. She's gonna have to pay.
She got to subscribe.
She got to subscribe.
No problem.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna be good. I
No.
promise.
So we had but because we had played together, we were friends. We really were just friends. There was nothing there. I mean, he used to call me El Boogie.
El Boogie.
We were just friends. And so then when we had dinner one night, and neither of us had really told each other that we were available, but we weren't going to dinner to go on. It wasn't a date. It was just like, oh, hey, what's up, Dan? We had done that before with others. And then once we got there, he told me, girl, like, how much? No, I'm kidding. What happened? What happened when we got to dinner?
Wait, what's your version?
My version? Okay, my version was that we had. I'm gonna tell my version.
Okay, you go first.
We had dinner. We had dinner, and what was interesting was neither of us fully knew each other's situation because we had been friends.
Wait, but I sort of revealed before because I didn't want to be a third wheel.
Yeah.
So I before we got there, I was like, well, hope it's not a deal breaker. I'm no longer.
And I was like, oh, that's okay. And I didn't say anything. And then when we got there and realized it was just the two of us, because
I didn't know she wasn't anymore.
And I didn't know he wasn't anymore. But we had dinner with friends before.
So when you say you didn't know he wasn't, wait, do you mean married or
dating?
So I was, so maybe that's where we should back up.
Okay. You tell us.
Sorry, y'all. We're gonna get it together.
This is what you guys have to look forward to, Joseph.
After 17 years, the story is whatever you say.
It's wherever I land or she lands. So we knew each other before, but we were both in other relationships. So it wasn't we as friends. Yeah. It was real friends. It wasn't like we were friends.
This new traditional friend. Yeah, I know.
No.
We weren't friends like y'all, Tiana. Not then. We were just.
We didn't have any zones. We had no zones. We had no zones. So when life came back around, and we thought we were connected, knowing that that's when we actually found out that neither one of us was any longer in relationship at that point. But it wasn't planned.
Right. And I didn't want to go with him like that. Like, oh, I'm gonna go out. This was just my friend. We were just gonna go, have dinner.
So that's the believe it or not, that's the short version. So that's how it happened. And we ended up at that moment, staying out talking till the restaurant shut down. And that's how it all began.
And then I remember you called me and you were like, that was really nice. And I got a little nervous.
I did?
You did. I remember.
Okay.
I specifically
Yes, you did, Shane.
Because you left the voicemail. I didn't answer the phone. And I was nervous about it. And the hard part, I shouldn't say hard part. The thing was because we had been friends, and one of my best friends was his cousin. I was friends with his sister. Our moms were friends. We had gone to
my
church
uncle's
together.
church. Yeah.
We had so many mutual friends. So
history.
we were both very leery of a relationship, because if it doesn't work out, then what happens? I didn't want to lose my friend, because Shane was really just a good friend to me. So it was kind of awkward. But then once we crossed over and we're like, okay, we're kind of interested, and I guess that was phase 2. Is that phase 2, Joseph?
That's the next zone.
The next zone.
He was like, we were 2. I was listening. I was listening.
The intentional zone. So which y'all made it to the intentional zone. That's
we made
the intentional zone, and it had to be clear we were in the intentional zone because we were friends. We couldn't just let's see what, because we were friends. So he intentionally told me that he really wanted to be with me, and so then I just went ahead.
Lori's version.
It was a slow thing coming. As you guys know, the thing is, as you guys know, I've talked on this podcast before about it. I'm divorced. And because of that, I was very leery, and I was afraid of getting hurt again. I didn't want to make the wrong decision again. There had been so many things that had gone wrong because of my bad decisions that I honestly, at one point I told him, I said, I'm a really good girlfriend, but I'm a pretty lousy wife. Because because that's how I felt. But it was decisions I had made were just wrong, and like I said, if you're here, go back to the other podcast and we share about that in more detail. But it made it actually hard for me to get in a position to really be open to a relationship, because I was like, I've messed this up so many times. I done made such a mess. And the last thing I want to do on top of all of that is lose my friend.
Right. Because the friendship, which I feel is lacking in relationships, period, like across the board, that phase is skipped, or that step is skipped.
Yeah.
Joseph, give me those phases one more time.
So you got the discovery zone. That's when you discovering who this person is that you just met. Maybe you met them at the church or whatnot. Then you got the friend zone. Those are people like you and I. All of us are in the friend zone technically. People you have platonic relationships with, may not necessarily be romantic. And then you have the intentional zone. That's when you cross that wall, and the purpose and the intentions of that relationship is to see if y'all compatible for a potential marriage. And so it's clear once y'all go to that. And I did a whole seminar on this and whatnot. I can give you that material later.
That would be great. I put it in the chat too, just in case anybody. And we got the chat is popping, so we're gonna have to take a pause.
But the intentional piece is really interesting. When you were talking, Tiana, did I say it right? Tiana, okay. When you were talking though about being friends for 10 years, and then when Joseph mentioned that intentionality piece, I remember for us, it was interesting because once we realized that it was more than just friends and that we were developing feelings for each other, it changed our friendship. Because that friendship can't stay the same. You can't stay.
Well, it scared us because we felt like this is like the point of no return, and if we find out it's not compatible toward moving towards courtship for marriage purposes, then what happens to the friendship?
Yeah.
And so that actually was a big factor.
Yeah. And I had a child. My son was 10 or 11 at the time. And so I was always very careful, dating as a single mom, because I didn't want him to see a parade of men coming through my life. So if I did date someone, I didn't introduce them to my son because they didn't need, you don't need to know him.
By the way, that meant something to me.
But he already knew you.
If she wasn't like that, that would have been an indicator
red
to
flag.
me. That's a red flag.
Yeah.
So
it's funny that you say that, because my son is the one who actually introduced me to my friend, and he was actually my son's Sunday school teacher. And my son was 7 at the time. He'll be 18 in August. He'll be 18 next month. And at the time, I had just lost my mom. And then 6 months later, I lost my aunt. So my mind definitely was not in a place of meeting nobody.
Yeah.
And so my son was very connected to him. It was like that was his buddy. And
Wow.
so we just happened, and I'll never forget because it was actually on Father's Day. And we were leaving, we were on our way to church actually, and he was like, Mama, can I go spend some time with, I'm gonna put names out. And I was like, no, we're going to church and we're coming home. I'm tired. We ain't visited nobody. Don't ask to go with nobody. And so when we got ready to leave, he actually brought him to me. He was like, I want to go. Can we? I was like, you know
Okay,
what?
wait. So this is at 7 years old,
Yes.
and he's
I
18 now.
He was 7. No, he might not have been 7. It was 10 years ago. So he might have
Y'all
been
been
8.
friends for 10. So okay, hold on. Now see, you didn't open up the phone. Okay.
Hey, she over there doing the math.
Yeah.
So you were friends. So you guys had phases then. So obviously
It's a phase because at the time I wasn't looking to be in no I'm my head is like gone. I had just lost my mom. I lost
Right.
my aunt.
Yeah.
And so no, nothing. And it took me some years before I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, he can be a cool friend. You know, we're friends. It was the connection that he had already with my kids because he was already teaching them. They were going to class. He knew them. And it was like when I would see him, it would be like a high and by. And then I was like, I don't even know who that is. Who is that? Who is this son that? No, you're not going. I don't know who that is. And it was weird because I really kind of brushed him off. And he was like, oh, hey, how you doing? Your son is very bright. He's intelligent. I like working with him. I was like, okay, yeah, thank you. And and I was like,
with this, it adds another layer because if, like Lori said, that Shane she pretty much wanted to protect, her son. She didn't know where it was going to go. So in your situation, yours is different because your son actually introduced. So is there any confusion? Is there any confusion was there any confusion at any time for your baby?
No, not at all. No, not at all.
Because I'm like that too. Anybody that I've dated, it's like I used to get, don't even ask, like you don't even need to know her name. Like you're not talking about no kids. I don't want to know I want to know how many you got. But as far as anything else,
well, I didn't. The connection was he had more of a connection with him than I did because he's seen him more. I'm in a sanctuary. He's in Sunday school with him all the time. So it's more, that was his favorite teacher. It's almost like going to school, like, hey, that's my favorite teacher, and I think it was the way he, nothing was pushed. That's almost like we were friends. It was more like, he's like, hey, I'm just here to help. That's how it was. It wasn't no intentions of us dating, but
but you are now.
I don't want to say we're dating. We're still kind of like in the friend thing.
Okay.
I wrote it down. We're still in we in the friend.
Friend zone.
We're friend zone. We in the friend zone. He's really my good friend. He is really my best friend.
That's how it's supposed to start. That's how that's the best way to move.
And it took time. It took time because at the time I was really going through a whole lot. And most people, when you going through certain things like that, that probably scare a man off. She got too much going on right now. Like, hey, you doing a lot of crying and pushing back. It's like I don't want nobody around. But he was more welcoming and he prayed for. I think it was the more so that he prayed for us. He prayed for me at the time when I needed him and when I needed somebody.
Gotcha.
And it was more like just being in a relationship wasn't something that I even really thought about. It was more.
That's fair.
Yeah, so here's a question though. If you've been with him for 10 years, if you guys have been like this for 10 years, is there a point at which you've wanted a relationship, and has he been in the way, or has he been the one that if I ever wanted more, it would be with him?
Well, I would say I have, like, try. I don't want to say date. I might go out to eat with somebody, just to, like, let's see what's out there. Let's see what this dating thing is about. And I will say that nobody ever like matched what he does and what he's done.
Okay, so what you waiting for? I'm just so let's
It's
quickly,
like
because I want to wait. Hold on, because I want to, and I need you to answer it. I need you. Wait, hold on. I need you to answer it like kind of quickly, because I got a question for Kayla, and then I got a question for Lorindia.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So, because I'm about to. It's been a lot of years. So
I want to make sure that I'm like she said, I'm kind of scared. I don't know if I'm, I've been in relationships, and they failed with my kids' fathers, and I'm like, I don't want another failed relationship. I want to make sure that I am where God wants me to be at in life, with me mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. I need to make sure that I'm intact, and I'm like a little scared, like I don't know.
Okay, so what is it going to take for, because if it's a you and God thing, that's one thing, but is there something that he can do or needs to do specifically to put you in a safe place, or are you still consulting with God? Because we know if we ask him, he's pretty cool.
He's going to reveal it to me. Yeah, I have been praying, and it's like every time I do pray about it, something different comes about. Like, oh, okay. It's like he opens up more to me. I'm not. It's so difficult.
Yeah, because I think you tripping, but we gonna we gonna talk about that later. Kayla, I want to go to you with the phases that Joseph pointed out. How were you in those phases? Like, because let me tell you, most of the time when we court, when we date, whatever the case, when we meet a guy, they're not all together. Okay. Like how Joseph came with the way he explained how it went.
Right.
That's something that like women like really, that's rare.
Right.
that they come, especially at your age, at you all's age. Yes. I don't know if you guys mind disclosing it.
30, oh yeah, 33. We're both 30.
Okay. Yeah. So at that age, it's kind of that's kind of hard to come by. So when he pointed out those things and when he came at you like that, how did that make you feel?
Yeah, it was really reassuring. I think it was even more just a confirmation that, like, okay, God, there's nothing more that I need in terms of a sign or I think again, like a blaring light. Like there was nothing mysterious I needed that God to say this is confirmation, just because, again, I was already spending time with the Lord, seeking his face. And I was looking for characteristics, and it wasn't like this superficial idea that I had about guys before when I was younger. So when he came and he was portraying that character of one being a leader, like you're saying, Tijuana, and really demonstrating these, how can I say it, the order in which he was coming to me, I was reassured. I felt that, yes, this is someone I know that can lead me. And he really just met that criteria of what a man, according to God, would be for my life. And so, yes.
So what I heard from that is, and which is what a lot of people are missing too, putting God in the equation. And not everybody does that. So when you put God, when you invite him into when you invite him into your life, first of all, you develop that relationship. But when you start that dating and seeking a husband, seeking a wife, seeking God for those characteristics, asking God to send, praying for whoever it is, you don't even know who it is, but those little things, those are things that you do when you are putting yourself in position to be met. I was not doing that. Lorindia, have you been doing that, and were you doing that? Like actually seeking God? Let's talk about now. Let's talk about now. The present.
Well, I actually think what you asked is actually very important because we're here. This is called the Flawed Sister Squad. We want to talk about the stages. I think it's important not to just be like, yes, I'm here in this righteous place now, but no, there was a time I didn't have a standard. There was a time I was not, I actually can't even believe it, but there was a time where I wasn't even, first thing was, okay, God, trying to seek you out to see if you even know God. It was just, okay, you're cute. You're talking, right? Like, it was like, check. We wasn't like, are you saved? Are you Christian? There was none of that for me. So it definitely was a lot of growth process through my own journey with God, which is why it is important for, I think, when you are thinking you're ready to date, to try to jump ahead and put yourself first and say, am I seeking God? Because it's just like, it was just a shift for me. Once I realized that I just wanted to love myself and I wanted to love God wholly. And then, it just was different. I don't think I had the desire to date for a while, to be honest with you. I'm someone who is very like spearheaded when I have a goal, things I focus on that. So you're not going to really get me to deter to do anything else because I'm going to church. I got this in mind. I'm going to school, whatever it is I'm doing, I'm focused on that. So that's where I was for a long time. Like I would say I spent a lot of years single and just focused, going to church and just literally just doing me. People seem like, you look so cute. Like I never understood people like, you look so cute. How are you single? Is that the only prerequisite? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know, but yeah, no, it's definitely not that simple when you are actually seeking God. But I did get to a place where once I did have my first godly relationship, where God was in it. We went to church together, like we had built a friendship. So there was like that, but I was younger and it was still in the beginning of my, journey. It was definitely let me know that I did want that, and anytime I tried to get away from trying to see if somebody can find their way to God on their own, maybe after I got to know them, that to me, it never worked out that way. So now it's definitely way different. I just do my own thing. I go to church and like Taquana, but I'm Taquana. I don't believe these people can't meet me in those places, those few places I go. Listen, if it's meant to be, you'll catch me in the grocery store. I'm always there. Okay. Yeah. You'll see me there. I'm always there. I'm always at church. Listen, they pray at church too now.
Yeah. Especially.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna
go with it.
We're gonna get to a question. Oh wow, Carl, this is what we doing? What does the woman bring to the table?
The table.
The table, honey. I could cut it down. And then I can make food to go on the table.
Make that table into a picnic table if you want it.
Whatever.
Put the legs back on.
That's a pretty
Can I say something?
Yes.
Yeah. I think the best way to answer this question is, because the way it's asked, you could infer things. I don't want to do that. I'm just going to try to speak to maybe what the heart of it could be and should be, which is you both should be bringing something to the table. And Lorindia, I think if I'm saying your name right, she said something earlier. She said, I was trying to get myself and make sure myself holds. So the thing is, you need two complete people who are, I think there's a lack of men and women approaching dating and courtship from a position of rest in God, already complete, a whole person that, I don't mean perfect. That's why I said rest in God, right? Yeah, look, we got back to you. I see what you did there. But see, we and I think that's what's missing, because it's two people. You got to come to, it's even dangerous to ask that question like that, in my opinion, because what it infers is you're trying to first put the onus on one side. It might not be the intention by the question, which is why I'm being careful with how I'm responding. But I think it's more important to say that if your first question should be, what am I bringing to the table?
And that's what I was gonna go ahead.
That's the first question. And I think it's important because you can't put expectations or look for something that doesn't match what you represent or what you portray and what you have to offer. And hopefully, and what should happen in the context of what we're talking here is both people need to share the same core, right? It's not assumed because you go to church that you share the same core. It's not assumed because you've been there 20 years, 2 years, 6 months, 36 months. You got a title, you don't have a title, you in the choir. Well, some of those things, after being a church boy like me growing up, were the things that scared me away because I was like, I have way too many experiences and exposures to people who seem like they should or would because of being in a church environment. But no, you need to have two people that put God first, that share him. That's the place that you're coming back to. That's the place that you start from. And the table really is something that God sets for you. You don't set the table.
Yeah. And to what he's saying about having the same core, that was one of the things that we always push that, because the truth is you need what you can bring to the table is a complete person who is seeking God for themselves.
Yeah.
And you don't want to bring your fears to the table. When we think of bringing to the table, we think of who has what. But initially, I had fears, and that's what I brought. He saw something else in me. God allowed me to see that from him and showed me how to receive that. Mm-hmm. So then we could get on the same page because we have the same core. And I can tell you one thing after 17 years, you want a man, ladies, more than anything, who loves God more than he loves you, because you're going to get on that man's nerves. You're going to make him mad. It don't feel like it at first. It's like, oh my God. No, but I can make him mad. He can make me mad.
Two-way street.
But it's a two-way street. But what I've learned is his love for God and his knowing that I'm the wife God gave him. And my love for God and knowing that I'm the wife God made for him and he's the husband God made for me, makes it that even if I'm upset or he's upset, I know it's not just about how we feel. There's something else at play there. God has put us together. So I know I might be mad right now and we may not be friends today, but I'm not going nowhere. And I love you because God has put us together. And that's the main thing, is having that same core. And that's what you need to bring to the table, is having the core that I love God most. God has to be your number one and your core. Otherwise, you honestly, it can't work. You might get lucky. But
yeah. And I like you guys said, that's a loaded question. And I think we also I got you, Kayla. I think we also need to consider, what does it say biblically? Because when we start asking questions like, what does he bring to the table? What does she bring to the table? There is a description biblically of what each pretty much to bring to the table. So when we start asking about tables and values and, characteristics and things of that nature, we got to go to now this is if you're seeking a God-sent person. If you're just out there, and I always say that because, everybody doesn't have spirituality. Everybody doesn't look to God. And that's what I want to push in society. You should, because relationships, things out there, for lack of a better term, it sucks out there because everybody's trying to do it on their own terms and, looking at, the characteristics and not the way they're supposed to be looking at it. It's all physicality and, superficial things and things of that nature. Kayla, go ahead.
Yeah, I like how you brought out Tijuana, Joe, and I were just talking about it, is going back to the biblical understanding. So with the women, I know it's a terminology that a lot of women do not like these days, but submission. And honestly, there's still the order of God. Above every woman is the man, and above man is Christ. And so bringing to the table as women, yes, we do need to take on that accountability, the responsibility that we're showing up to demonstrate we can be submissive. Like, it's not something that we do once we get married when it says that he who finds a wife, like you have to already exhibit wifely character when you come to the table before you're even married. And I think that that's something that needs to be said, because a lot of women, I love you all, my sisters and homegirls, but just I know the feminist movement that's going around, and you can do bad all by yourself. And yes, I said before, yes, you can. Like, yes, you can do bad. And that's what kind of drives the men away. And so having an attitude, again, it doesn't mean that you having businesses and you having a top career that's wrong. That's great. Like, men do want that, but it's the attitude that you carry when you have those things. You can be a submissive woman. You can be a woman who's respectful toward a man that you are intentional with during that, even the friend zone, demonstrating that. And that's what you can bring to the table to show that you are wife material before you even get the ring on your finger.
Before you even get the ring on your finger. Before.
And Kayla said something that is so key, and that I thought about. Submissive does not mean stupid. We have this picture and this thing that we put out there that if a woman is submissive, she says, yes, dear, yes, baby, whatever you want to do, baby. That's not the picture of submissive.
Y'all getting on the next podcast topic next month.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, though. Go ahead. I'm gonna have to
submissive is agreeable. Submissive is approachable. Submissive is being part of the team. That's what submissive is. It says, well, this is what I want. This is what you want. Well, what do you think of that? And being okay if he says, well, I want to do this and I want you. Submissive is an attitude. It's a place of heart. It's a way that says, I'm open to you. I'm open to your influence. I'm open to what you have. That's what submissive is. But when we tie submissive to stupid, and we say, well, I have to dumb down. I'll admit, I still work now, but when we first got married, my career was like I was doing things, okay? I was working for a publicly traded company. I was a director in finance. I was doing things. And at work, I had to be, that's who I had to be. I had to learn, because like I said, I had failed marriage for other reasons. But what I had to learn was that when I came home, that's not his wife. That was Lori at work, but his wife was different.
I had to learn the same thing, y'all. Let me add the funny anecdote here, because she also came and said, "I don't work for you."
Yeah.
I had to adjust mine as well. But what I'm trying to do, I think there's a reason. It's funny that you made a comment that's about another podcast, because the reality is, if the context is what we say it is, if you don't know what God requires of man and woman in marriage, you won't be successful in your courting or your dating.
That's right.
It just won't happen, right? So you can't it's hard to separate the two, because that's what you should be looking for, and that's what you should be holding yourself to and them to. And that's the map that you're checking things against is what the word says. And so if it's not present, I hate to say it, you probably just, I don't even know you want to call it dating. You just, you might, I don't want to use the phrases that they use.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, she said, yeah, no, I'm not. Don't worry, I'm not. But that's really what you want to do. And when you say submission, I just add this, I'm back up. I'm trying to be quiet because this is an area I'm passionate about. And that it's a part of my ministry.
Joseph is shaking his head.
I can tell. I'm with you right here. I got you. So, but what I'm saying is, because and y'all are beautiful. All y'all, this is the beautiful inside and out. And I can tell you're sincere. The ones who are not married right now, even though some feel like they may have identified the person possibly, but I'm not saying, because it could maybe not be. Maybe she's not ready, but could she be ready? But I'm not going there. But outside of that, the submission part, right, is the man to God, the woman to God, the woman to the man, but only because, do y'all know, and I say this all the time when I used to in Merrill County, do you know what the responsibility of the man is? Is to love you like Christ loved the church. Who would have a problem submitting to a man that's ready to love you like the person who died for you?
And that's the one, submitting.
You understand what I'm saying?
I wanted to say that I think that's one of our biggest problems of, well, I don't want to say problem, but our biggest issue as being single women and being single for so long is that submission, for me, that has been like one of my biggest issues. Like,
God, we
I don't
can't
know
talk about submission today.
okay, I'm sorry. We won't talk about that. But I will say that when it comes to, like you said before, bringing stuff to the table, you gotta bring, when you bringing stuff to the table, you have to bring yourself as together as a whole. Like, you fix you can't, because I hear a lot of people say, oh, you got to bring this to the table, he got to bring this amount of money, and this is like, but you're not doing that yourself. He got to have a good relationship with his kids, but you don't even have your kids. Or it's like we want stuff that we're not willing to give, and that, I think that makes it hard now with the dating, because everybody is looking for somebody to do something for them. I've noticed that men is looking for women. Well, you gotta be a woman that cook and clean, and well, maybe I don't like to cook, maybe he like to cook. I don't like to cook. I have 4 kids, they're all grown now. I don't want to cook.
You gotta make sure he eat. You got to make sure he eat. That's your responsibility to make sure he eat. Now
but you know what? My friend liked to cook.
Oh, okay. Well then, hey.
We checking boxes, Tiana. We checking boxes. I'm going back to what I said about what I wasn't gonna say about who you talking about, because you just checked another box. But I'm just saying.
I mean, he likes to cook. Like, when we go out here I like the idea
it's okay with having a standard. It's okay. Okay. So when we start talking about like specifics, I'm not going to sit here and say that it doesn't matter, because it does. Everyone has preferences. The thing is, you have to make sure that your preferences and your standard isn't getting in the way of somebody possibly being really your mate. Because there are some characteristics that you can see in people that you just don't like. You got to see what the red flags are. You got to see what the absolute no's are. You know what I mean? So when you start talking about how much money he makes, and that's the superficial stuff, but it's also,
don't even bring that up. That's not even a topic. That's not even discussed of how much money I make or he make. It's that. I think that's a deal breaker. Like, when you get to talking about finances, now I'm not saying you're gonna be a man. You can tell a man who is got his stuff together versus a man that's just, oh well, hey, if your car is always in the shop, or
well, let me ask Shane and Lori, because I want to, we're gonna keep it real. Because we can't act like some things aren't important and some things are, because finances is
really important.
A conversation that
right.
I feel a lot of people should have, because you need to know people's work ethic. There are things like, you can even go into the details, your political stance, your like, some of these things really matter. Shane and Lori, how important, did you guys discuss finances before you guys got married?
Absolutely,
we did. Absolutely.
Did you discuss it in your friend zone, in the friend zone department?
No, it was more at the intentional stage when we were getting closer and looking more seriously at a future.
Yeah, but I will say this: you talk, if you're friends, you're gonna talk about finances, right?
Yeah.
If you're friends, you might not be going into the level of detail that you would in phase 2 per Joseph. But I'm just saying, I say that with respect. But listen, you're going to talk as friends, and you know what else you're going to do? Just in the nature of a good, healthy relationship, when you see something going on with somebody else, when you see whatever, you ask questions. But you all right? What's going on? You seem down. And there's going to be components that are tied to finances, that are tied to whatever else. And you also are going to, just by virtue of being that close with somebody and spending that much time, you're going to be able to make some observations. Whether they are giving you the details or not.
Absolutely.
So I'm just,
So Joseph and Kayla, what did that look like for you guys?
Well, yeah, like when we were friends, because we were friends, we already knew. I wasn't a leader in the intentional zone. I've been a leader in the discovery zone, like and I'm not a leader just because what I did in the communities. It's God created the men to lead and the women to submit to lead. And so, yeah, we talked about all of that. But I think the most thing just for us that was the thing that trumped everything else was is this a God thing? Because as you pointed out in what your podcast is about, we're all flawed. So I'm not a perfect leader. She's not a perfect submitter, right? But because our relationship was a God thing and we have one spirit, of God who confirmed the nature of our relationship, then everything else we were able to work on because we're still working on things. Then we're all going to keep on. And so, yeah, finance is important, jobs is important, work ethic. But the most important thing that trumps every single thing else is this a God thing? Is your spirit bearing witness to her spirit? And is God affirming this through y'all spirit together? And if that's the case, then you don't have to be in any drawn out type of relationship.
Right.
Because, yeah, our parents got married when they were teenagers. I mean, we had college degrees when we got married. We were much more along the way than our parents were. But because it was a God thing, right? Our parents was able to be together when they didn't even have jobs, or they wasn't as, successful in life as we were because it was a God thing. So that was the most important thing that, through our intentional zone and through our discovery zone is are we keeping God at the center and the foundation? And do I believe and trust, and I do have a relationship with God that you are my wife? And if so, everything else, will be worked out, and that was the most important thing.
And I think this all comes into the vetting part of it, vetting the person. So
yeah,
I gotta ask this question before we go. So clearly there's going to be a part 2 because I need to get through every last one of these questions, and then I want there to be some clear and concise answers and feedback. So, but I am going to ask this. So what does proper, and we are pretty much already touched on some of the things, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What does proper vetting consist of? And this is a married couples only question because we don't know. Tiana, Lorindia, we don't know.
Absolutely not. I'm listening. I got my notebook. I'm sitting here taking notes.
Okay, so whichever one of the couples want to start first.
Go ahead.
Short, spirit is bear witness with each other. It's the same God that you claim you believe in. It's the same God that I do. And then if so, that's the leading factor. Like, are we the same type of Christians? Because we know they have variations of it. So I think the first thing is our spirit bearing witness. And if that's so, then through that relationship, then we are able to see what God is speaking to us about each other in the midst of going through and going into the intentional zone. And with Kayla, she's the only woman who's actually ever been in the intentional zone because my spirit bear witness for her over in the friend zone that this was the one I should be vetting. And God doesn't make mistakes, clearly, right? And so because of the vetting, is this the person that I've been praying for that, God has been wanting to bring in my life. And because it was affirmed on so many different levels, she was the only one who made it over. I call it the wall, is when you go from friend zone to, all right, we about to be intentional now. And then we get over the wall and now we're intentional. And so that was the vetting. Is this the person that I've been praying for? And God would affirm it in both of our spirit, and He did. And so that's how it went. It's the trying by the spirit and being led by God.
I think,
Kayla, you want to add?
Yeah, and I think also adding to that, doubling down on something that I mentioned earlier for the women is really looking at characteristics of what God has said about in the Bible. So seeing what this man's integrity looks like, and then talking to people that know him. So if he has friends, if you are mutual friends, or if you're not, if you're getting to know each other, then be around people who know him that can speak of his character, his integrity. Because I think a lot of times, and I'll speak of it, when I was younger, my vetting process looked like, what his eyes look like, how his hair dipping, what does he look like when he's wearing certain clothes? And so I really had to grow from that in terms of, talking to other wise women, and then also friends, male friends, to say, like, really, what should this look like when I am talking to a guy? What questions do I need to be aware of? And I think, again, it was really going back to what does his characteristics look like? Because you might be catching your, someone that you're supposed to be with, the man that God has for you, in a season where, again, finances, he might not be at his more optimal place or his more plateaued place of maybe his career, but just trusting and believing, okay, if he has a plan, again, his characteristics, that integrity, it will demonstrate to you that he has a plan of action, he's executing it. And then again, his integrity, what has it looked like his job in the past? Has he kept a job for a certain amount of time? So these are good questions that you can ask and not just cut him off because he doesn't make six figures, right? Again, this superficial things, but looking at his character and looking at the trends and understand the community that he's a part of, because that'll also speak to who he is.
Yeah.
That was huge. The community, the people you're around, who you surround yourself around. And then, and I don't think everything that, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything that you said, I can honestly say, even for my, so not now circle, because my now circle is different than my previous circle. These were not things. And it's sad because I grew up in the church. So I grew up in this. So of course, when you're out there doing your own thing, even though you're not practicing what's right, you know what's right.
Mm-hmm.
So there are still some things that you should consider if you're trying to make somebody your somebody. You know what I mean? And those were not the things that it was still, because I wasn't in God. So I was looking for something completely different. I knew what model of a man that I wanted, but God was not at the top of my list. Him going to church wasn't at the top of my list. Him being saved obviously wasn't, because I wasn't. But it just wasn't characteristics that I was looking for at all.
And I would say one of the biggest things too, if I can just add one thing, transparency about intentions and desires. Like, it's okay if you want to be friends, y'all like each other, but y'all both not ready for marriage. It's okay. Make that clear. Like, we just friends. I like you, friend, but I don't have any intentions on marrying you because I'm still getting myself together or whatnot. And I think being transparent about that and being real with yourself, like if you're a man or a woman, can you handle that type of relationship? Can you handle a relationship where a guy says he likes you, you like him, but he also said he don't intend on marrying you, but y'all staying on a platonic, just communicative relationship and being transparent with yourself and honest about yourself.
Right.
Are you mature enough to have that relationship? Or if one is wanting one thing and the other is wanting the other thing, are you transparent about you not wanting it, and they not wanting to give it to you, but just being honest and transparent about, I guess, the dynamics and the nature of your relationship too.
Makes sense.
Because that way, especially when I'm ready to get married. I would actually on the first, hey, this is my plan. I had a whole
Look at Kayla.
You already had it down.
No, all right, so it's cool. Cause I'm gonna move to somebody who's on my,
right.
So just
right.
Up front, because I'm like, I need a wife,
I know that's right.
Yeah.
But,
I think
one thing Kayla said was so good when she was talking about who are their friends, who are their associates, what do people say about them? I think another big piece of vetting, though, is when those things are absent. Because have you ever seen where I've seen a woman get involved with someone who had no other friends around, nobody knew them, all these, that also is a sign. Why does no one know you? Right, that's a sign of something that is. Bishop said even one Sunday, I want to know people who've known you for years so they can tell me about who you really are. And so I think it's just as important to make it to knowing who someone is and what have they done before, what is their track record and all those things. It's also saying if none of that's present, if you don't have nobody I can meet that there ain't nobody that's been your friend for a long time, nobody knows, well, then I don't know you. And how can I know you? Nobody can tell me anything. So I think that's important in vetting too, is who's around them, but also who's not around.
That part right there. Because I know, even though I'm not gonna say I'm not as a space. I'm just, like I said, if it happens, it happens. But one of the things that I did say when we moved to Texas, I was like, Yeah. So this is definitely, whoever he is definitely gonna have to be God sent, because I don't know nobody in Texas. we don't know. All we have out here is us.
Yeah.
That's it. So that was one of the big things that I was actually scared to relocate, because I'm like, and I wasn't where I was supposed to be in God when we first moved here. So we've been here for 3 years. Actually 4. I think it made 4 in July. But I was like, oh my God. I was like, I don't know if I can do this, because all these connections that I have in California, not saying that I wanted to double back to someone who I had been dating. It's just that I know my circle. Like going to Texas, I don't know anybody. So
but
at
there
this
are
stage,
people in your life. So even if you met someone now, even though you may not have the same type of tribe, there you have people who know you.
Yeah.
You know, and
But
I've seen people where, and you know what we're talking about. Nobody knew them, and we found out why later.
See, ain't nobody trying to be scared.
I think the other thing you got to look at too is you got to have make sure you have the opportunity to vet by virtue of getting to know their circle, because who people choose when they say, man, this is my road dog for 20 years. Okay, why don't we do something? Let's get out of it. Yep, let it be a third wheel. Let it be whatever it is you need to find out and see what is going on and how they act, and are they different? Are they the same when they get around them? What happens? What kind of life are they leading? Because that means whoever you spend the time with, you either influencing them or they influencing you.
Influencing you. It's
no one way or the other. Ain't nobody just sitting there. It's you influence them or they influence you. So that, and then I look at how they interact with their family, with their parents. Even if it's a single parent, it doesn't matter what the situation is. You need to see how they interact, how they handle that. What the relationship is like. That's not about things having to be perfect. It's about seeing the evidence of what's in them when it comes to love. Because the person that you marry needs to be able to demonstrate unconditional love. They're not going to have the opportunity to show everything before marriage to you, but you are going to have the opportunity to see how they express that to people who are in their life and have been in their life. And if you don't see evidence of that, because I know that's a marriage thing, but we talking about dating and courting with the intention of heading that way. And if that's the case, then you better see some expression of agape, unconditional love present somewhere in their close circle, or else it means they got some struggles there. And you hear people say it all the time. You can love, you can infatuation. There's eros love. There's all these types of love. But if you ain't got that AGAPE, did I spell that right?
I think so.
AGAPE. Yeah.
If you ain't got that, I said it right. if you ain't got that, it's gonna be a struggle.
Okay. We're gonna get to a couple of comments and then we're gonna get out of here. I'll be trying to shrink everything into like an hour. I say an hour and a half at max, but I think this conversation deserves a part 2. So hopefully everybody will be available next month. Okay, I'm gonna yes, because it takes more than our spirits bearing one another in God. We can bear spirits together on a spiritual level, but secretly a whole serial killer.
Snapped.
That's my show.
Well,
that sounds like snapped.
So with that, I think the last part won't even be. I don't know if it's possible to bear one another and then be a whole serial killer.
God is not the author of confusion. Like if your spirit bearing witness with it, that's the whole point of us having one spirit. Because the same spirit that lives in me is the same spirit that lives in every other believer of the same God. And so you won't be
because if it's not gonna it's gonna push back. It's gonna be like, this ain't working. Something in my spirit ain't.
I think part of what he's also getting to is, and we've seen this in church, I'm sure, they look perfect and everything seems right and it all comes together right. And then you find out this person could have a whole nother secret life that you didn't always see. And you thought everything was okay. And we make mistakes sometimes. That happens.
So my question to that though is if God put
He'll
it
tell you.
together,
Mm-hmm.
then that's when I feel this is a non-issue.
Yeah, he'll tell you.
Yeah,
He
yeah. I
warns
mean,
you.
I mean,
mistakes.
Because
Yeah.
I want to be clear. I don't want people to think like, because if it's God ordained and you guys are bearing one and you one in spirit, like this is not going to be an issue. There has to be some self involved in that if this comes to pass. Because like Joseph said, God don't make no God. No, we can still talk about it, but I just want to be clear because God does not make any mistakes.
No, he
no,
doesn't.
no. And there's only one spirit. So,
Exactly.
Right.
And I think sometimes people use the terms and mean something differently. And so I think we all in here collectively have an understanding of what we mean when we say it, but somebody else might use the same term and
that's why I'm trying to make it
clear. You clarified is the right thing. There is one Holy Spirit. There is one. And if that's the one that we're using to bear witness, it's the same one that she's used to bear witness, and there will be no confusion. So I think that's a good thing to clarify.
And I can tell you though, also from past experience, when things look okay, but something's not right, God will tell you.
That's right.
He will tell you this is not right.
Don't override.
Don't override him when he tells you that, because that's like the tree that had the beautiful leaves on it, and you went to get the fruit, and there was nothing there. So it can look beautiful, but he will tell you.
And I think that as being single, when we look at things like that, and God actually tells us like, that's not it. Things go bad when we force it. Absolutely. Because there is a lot of times that we as single people, some people would like, I want this relationship to work so bad, and you praying to God, asking God, and God is giving you the info. He's giving you the stop sign, he's giving you the stoplight, but you want to run it. Like, well, I'm going to pursue it anyway. And then when it falls bad, it's like, I can't believe God allowed this, because I've had people that I've talked to. It's like, no, don't blame that on God, because he already gave you the stoplight to stop when it was time to stop. So that serial killer comment, that was what I got out of like, no, that was a force. You forced that. God didn't put that together. God warned you. He gave you a warning. So I think it's more so we have to pay attention to red flags and not take into so much of the being single and being lonely, because that's where it gets caught up at, is that being lonely, where you like, oh, I'm tired of being by myself. And some of my friends, it's like that. No, you're not tired. You still have to learn yourself. You still gonna have to know yourself. And like I was, like I said, I was single for 10 years after me and my two boys, their dad, we were actually going to get married. That flopped. I canceled the wedding a week before we were going to get married because he had a baby on the way due the next month after we were going to get married. And I had no idea until that week before we were about to get married. So I've been seeing, that's why it's like Taquana, like I was telling you, like I was saying, like we've been friends for 10 years. Yeah, we've been friends for 10 years because it's a lot of stuff. I'm like, I'm not like, like Shane and Lori said, I'm not rushing. I'm not rushing to it's going God's speed right now. It's going God's speed.
Go ahead, Lori.
I'm gonna say this real quick, and to you, Tiana, because when you first said that about being scared, I identified with that, and I'm just gonna say this quickly. When I had gotten married before, God clearly told me no. He clearly told me not to do that. But like you said, I overrode it because I thought, well, who else am I gonna marry? Or I thought, well, he's this, da, da, da. When we got in a point where we've reached that intention zone, I literally told God, if this is not what you have for me, take the feelings away. And if they go away, I will not go after them. I will let it go. Because like you said, I couldn't, you're right. We can override it. We can run it and everything. But I was like, I'm not going to do that, God. I can't do that anymore. If you take it away, I'll let him go. And what happened instead was the feelings became stronger. to the point that I knew God had told me this is who I was supposed to marry, as strongly as he had told me not to marry before.
Right.
So that's a real thing, but don't get scared and miss your blessing, baby. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm good. There's things that I
and then
still
just
want to
making
do.
sure that you are aligned, you and God are actually
Right.
locked in. That is
Yes.
super important to make sure that, because people have these wants, desires, and stuff, and because they have the want and the desire, they tend to not see God like they're supposed to. That's why it's really important to actually have the relationship that you say that people, not you specifically, but it's important for people to have the relationship with God that they claim, because it's going to show with the decisions that you make. Joseph,
right, absolutely.
Before we close.
Yeah, just real quick. And the Bible says there's a safety in the multitude of counseling. And so if you're not yourself as discerning as you would like to be, Kayla and I, we even went through pre-engagement counseling, and then we went through premarital counseling. So it's always good in your community just to access your community. Like if you're not sure about someone, you have your pastor, you have your friends, you have Flawed for a Purpose. You have
not me for no. I'm gonna stay in my lane.
You got Google, you got private eyes. Yeah.
What I'm saying is, even you don't necessarily have to be married, but like you have friends who can who could be more discerning than you are. It's not necessarily you getting counseling from them, but
and that's true.
Not registering with you. Okay, you have a community, and so that's what I was illuminating too. And,
all of my friends are married, and they always like, "Girl, that's your husband." Yeah, just let us know when the date is. And I'm like, y'all better stop saying that. I don't think we cool right now. We chilling. We good.
Okay, so the last comment says making sure you're equally yoked is crucial ingredient to any relationship.
Yes.
That's my mama, y'all. Okay, that's it, because there's still some more comments, but we're gonna say everybody come back next month. We're gonna do a part 2, and we're gonna continue this. But for now, I gotta let these people go. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for taking the time to tune in. So as you know, the cast, you guys stay here, don't hang up. Everybody out there, make sure you go to flawedforpurpose.com to subscribe to the website email. Make sure you go to the YouTube, it's at Flawed Sister Squad, and subscribe. And make sure you just connect it to all the social media pages. And then and make sure you're following. Is that does that say Imperfect Girls on there? It's small. But you're muted. You're muted, Lori.
Yes, my 2 pages. That's Chef Loria's, which is my cooking channel, and Imperfect Good Girls, which is where we deal with good church girls who have less than perfect pasts.
Okay, and then Lorendia has hers down there. Oh, she does. Oh, it's just a chef and fashion designer. You don't have your handle on there. I like to always plug. And then hopefully we're going to be getting like a podcast or something from like Joseph and Kayla where they come on and because
I would definitely be tuning in on that one.
I'm trying to pour into her to come on back. But so thank you all for joining. We're going to get out of here. We will see you next. Yes, subscribe. I'll send out emails, you guys. Until next time, God bless you all and see you later.